Welcome inside the Summit, the Mohawk Mountaineers podcast, where we cover Mohawk Mountaineers women's and men's varsity basketball for the 2016-17 OCAA season. Once again, back with you from a long holiday break off. I'm sorry for the 2 to 3 weeks I did not spend with you. However, I did enjoy some Christmas time with my family and have now swung ourselves into the new year, and we are back on the Summit podcast talking 2017 going forward, the second half of the season for the Mohawk men and women's basketball teams. However, on this edition of the podcast, we are going to look at the Mohawk Mountaineers men's basketball team's first half mid-season report. Of course, in our last podcast session, we focused on the women's mid-season report. Now we will look at Coach Brian Jonker's men's basketball team. As we come to the halfway point of OCAA men's basketball season, the Mohawk Mountaineers are enduring a slow but building year under Brian Jonker. They have been led by a solid offense that right now is currently ranked 4th in the OCAA overall. But however, the Mountaineers still stand at a losing record of 4-5 as they came to the end of the first half of the season and entered their 5-week winter break losers to the Humber College Hawks. The season has been a rebuilding year for the Mountaineers, as mentioned. After following up a silver medal finish in last year's OCAA championships with an unfortunate early exit in the CCAAs, the roster has had a lot of turnover going into this new season. The loss of 10 former players off of last year's team and 9 new faces joining, 8 of which are rookies, have really forced the team to slowly rebuild themselves from the ground up while also forming a new chemistry and going, of course, through the growing pains of learning for most of these new 9 players how to win at this level. So first, to break down the team's performance for the first half, we will section off the categories into offense, defense, and a few surprise first half performances. And the offense and defensive categories will be graded A+ through F-. And of course, then we will get into some of the standout performances thus far. Offensively, starting out at the offensive end, the Mountaineers, through 9 games of play, find themselves as the 4th highest scoring team in all of the OCAA, which has realistically been their main bright spot up to the midway point of the season. 4th in points per game, they are 13th in field goal percentage, 7th in three-point percentage, and 2nd overall from the free throw line. Also 7th in offensive rebounds per game and 4th in assists per game. This has been a very good offensive unit for the Mohawk Mountaineers, and this has been mainly due to the scoring of 3 major players through the first half. These would be second-year guard Kareem Collins, who leads the way not only in scoring points per game wise, but as truly the defining leader and playmaker, if not, you could say, quarterback of the offense when on the court. The second-year guard has led the team at a 14.6 points per game rate, good for 21st overall in the OCAA, and also is second on the team in shooting threes at 41.7% from beyond the arc. Collins obviously does much more than just score on the offensive end. He is also their leading playmaker at 3.8 assists per game, which is also good for a top 10 seed in the overall OCAA league leaders. He is right smack at number 10 in those assists per game category. Lamar Barr, the third-year guard and veteran, sits second on the team with 14.2 points per game and is also shooting a very solid 42.5% from the field, while also a very respectable 83.9% clip from the free throw line. Now, Barr and Collins collectively, their ability to drive the bucket and also realistically run the offense from the outside in as guards who are not necessarily point guards or 2 guards, has really helped make them threats in multiple areas of the floor offensively, even without them, as mentioning, really truly playing a normal guard position on any given series or set of plays. Lastly, the other main piece offensively has been the play of rookie guard Matt Elcock. Elcock, as a rookie, was started by shooting out the lights and has led himself to a 13.8 point per game mark through the midway point of the season, now 9 games in. He has led the team, shooting 88.6% from the free throw line, and has been very consistent, shooting 41.5% from the three-point line, finding himself just behind teammate Kareem Collins. The rookie has slowed down, though, immensely, as mentioned, from his hot early season start in scoring, but has been one of the few bright spots amongst the mass influx of younger players when it comes to the offensive end of the ball. The overall rating for the offense is a ranking of A-. Now on defense. On the defensive side of the ball, the Mountaineers' youth has been shown far too often. They have allowed one of the highest points per game against, something that they need to fix in order to improve upon their 4-5 win record. These points per game against ranking ranks them at 17th in the league, while they have also allowed the 14th worst opponent's field goal percentage, 19th worst, second last in all of the OCAA in opponent's three-point percentage, but have picked it up with rankings of 6th in defensive rebounds per game, 6th in steals per game, and 7th in blocks per game. The offense, of course, has carried their lack of defense through one half of the season, and their leading rebounder at this point has been veteran Lamar Barr at 5.6 per game, which continues to show off the all-around abilities of Lamar Barr as he leads the team in rebounding from the guard position. Now, second to Barr is rookie Ty Uhrig, whose 5.3 rebounds per game are a positive addition considering his playing time has been quite a bit lower than a Barr or Collins, who are next on the list, and Collins, of course, sits third at 4.8 per game. Leading the team in steals is also Collins at 2.4 steals per game. Barr finds himself second at 1.9, and rookie Jordan Martin at 1.7, which again shows the dominance displayed by their top two players, Collins and Barr, and the lack of support that has truly come from the remainder of the team thus far, including their 9 new faces. The play of Barr and Collins has not really been surprising, considering they were two of the better components of Mountaineers squads in the past year or two. However, the lack of rookie standouts has not really helped the team thus far defensively. Going through the first half of the year, we have not had too many standout games. A few here from a Ty Uhrig with a 3 or 4 block performance, and as mentioned, Jordan Martin with a 5 or 6 steal performance. But aside from that, the Mountaineers are still really waiting for the chemistry to come together and that defense to truly play solidified, consistent basketball that can keep teams off the board at a rate that allows their high-scoring offense to really calm down and play their game, and therefore lead to easier defensive sets because they'll have other teams on the run and have other teams being pushed. Instead, early deficits have allowed this defense to have to play full court press, and at times that has really hurt the Mountaineers being broken down by other teams as they are spread out across the court. The overall defensive ranking this year is a C+ through one half of the season. Going forward, some surprise performances that we noticed in the first half of the season include guard Matt Elcock and his early 20-point affairs in the first few games of the season. Elcock had averaged over 20 points per game, including in the preseason, having 2 25-plus point performances. However, Elcock has slowed down of recent and seemingly is coming down to earth, if you want to say so, in his points per game as well as his consistency shooting-wise on the offensive end. His defense could use a little pickup, and on the defensive side of things as well, Ty Uhrig has been very good in limited time. I would love to see Ty Uhrig get a little more opportunities from Coach Brian Jonker moving forward. If you look at the other performances, though, offensively, Kareem Collins is almost not surprising because he's doing exactly what you expect. What surprises me is how consistent he's been across the board, whether it's in terms of the rebounding or the assists per game, or it is getting the steals defensively. And of course, scoring, not really a problem for Kareem or Lamar Barr, but watching them do what they've done in the other categories, at other ends of the court, and in other scenarios that maybe weren't necessarily being asked of them, like Lamar Barr rebounding so well from the point guard position, where he mostly is playing, if not the 2-guard position. Something like that is a standout performance. However, not enough thus far through the first half of the season for this team to have any success, or the kind of success that would put them at above 500. So going forward, Coach Brian Jonker will have a lot to work on for his team. I'm sure Jonker would love to see a little more effort on the defensive end as a starting point for bettering their defensive totals. Effort is what's going to get them those extra stops. It's going to keep guys, keep their feet moving and keep them in front of other guys. and it's that extra drive that might just, in fact, pick things up in the second half of the season for the Mountaineers with 9 games remaining and give them an opportunity to possibly hit the double-digit win total and get themselves in a playoff position, one that they do not currently sit in, as we are sitting at the midway point of the season. The Mountaineers will be in action Thursday night on the road against Niagara College Knights. Tip-off 8 p.m. as the Mountaineers look to get 2017 rolling with a win in their opener on the road against the Knights and get back to 500. And from there, we'll look to build on a possible playoff run with this new, young, and improving team. So thanks for joining us on the Summit. This has been the 4th edition and episode of the Summit podcast series covering the Mohawk men and women's basketball teams. This one, the Mohawk men's mid-season basketball report. Next, we will be coming back with you a couple updates as to what has happened against the Niagara College Knights this coming Thursday for both the men and women's, and also a preview of their next week's games and their upcoming first home games of the 2017 portion of the schedule. Any more news updates can be found at Ignite News if you want to keep an eye on the Mountaineers going forward. And also, of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Nick Birnie, also on Facebook, also at Nick Birnie, and of course on YouTube, also Nick Birnie. Thanks for watching the 4th episode of the Summit Podcast. We will keep you updated every week as much as possible with the Mountaineers men and women's basketball teams, and we will be back with updates on how they did Thursday night in Niagara in our next podcast episode. Thanks for watching, everyone, and enjoy.